in terms of being remembered, I mean, like I say, I ain't gonna toot my own horn, but hey, when it comes to basketball and the Turks and Caicos, this is it we looking at.
Welcome back to Pushing Your Peers podcast, the number one podcast in the region for living a progressive and happier life. On this episode, I'm joined by Alvardo Parker, a former Division One basketball player turned championship winning coach. We dive into his journey from player to mentor, the importance of early sports development, and the challenges of coaching the next generation. Alvaro also shares the power of positivity and patience in shaping young athletes and building a winning mindset. Get ready for an inspiring conversation that will motivate you to push your own potential. Sit back, relax, and let's get ready to push some peers. Wait, hold on. Before you dive into this episode with Alvardo Parker, I just want to say I got some things to give away. And I'm giving away things because we recently celebrated 1,000 subscribers on our YouTube channel. Yes, Pushing Your Peers podcast has hit 1,000 subscribers, and we couldn't have done it without you guys. Your likes, your comments, your shares, your engagement every week has contributed to the growth. We've done it in 10 months, and I am looking forward to continuing this platform, continuing to bring a lot of persons on the platform who usually don't get an opportunity to be in front of a camera. So I'm excited for the growth of this channel. I'm excited for you. And of course, I want to show my appreciation. Me, along with Berg, who is also the owner of Jack Club, we have partnered to do some giveaways. So if you would like to own some Jack Club merchandise, all you have to do is tag 2 persons in the comments area and also share this episode in your stories and tag me in it. Now, this prize giving is going to be on a first come, first serve basis. And whoever is the first persons to do this will get the prizes. I have 6 prizes to give away. So the first 6 persons to follow those instructions will be the winners. I couldn't do this without you guys. Thank you so much for supporting the channel. And of course, enjoy this episode. Bro, Mr. Parker, it's a pleasure to have you on Pushing Your Peers podcast. I believe you would have played against Blake Griffin at one point, correct?
Yeah, he was one of the bigger names, yeah, that I played against.
Awesome. And ladies and gentlemen, we are interviewing Alvardo Parker on Pushing Your Peers podcast today in the capacity of coach. He recently won the Inter High School Championship with his team, the Wesley Methodist Stingrays. And Avad, I want you to tell us, where did your journey start with basketball? I know LeBron James, when you hear his story, his mom purchased him a toy basketball room, right? But where did your journey start with basketball?
For me, as far back as I can remember, I would say grade 3, so around about 8, 9 years old. So, playing backyard basketball. We only had one court growing up in South, so we was in nowhere close to using that while the big guys are there. So we had our crate rooms in the little neighborhoods where, we had some very intense and really good games. So it really started there for me, and being from grade 3 level, I can remember being one of the tallest guys, and even though I was in grade 3, I still was one of the tallest guys in the school. So at that time, I can remember the grade 5 competing against the grade 6, and sometimes I would join the grade 5 team, and but from there, that's where it really started for me.
But when did it start to kick off for you? Like when you realize, okay, I got a real shot at this basketball thing. When did you gain the insights to know that, okay, I can really play this thing?
So yeah, I mean, well, holding my own, well, from grade 3 playing against the older guys, that was some insight. That was a start, but for me, I would say once I got to high school, more so about, I'd say about Form 3, Form 4. So, in South we had all the ballers. So it worked out in our favor where, we had to go up against the older guys because we playing on one court. If you want to play, you got to earn your spot on that court. So, at the time, Cody Seymour, he was the big thing in South at that time. And, he a couple years older than me. So I can remember Form 1, Form 2, being dominated by Cody. But once I hit like Form 3, that story started to even out, and Form 4, Form 5, it was it
It
was
was
on.
over.
Yeah. So that was my coming out. So that
But
was yeah, how I kind of measure myself. Mhm.
what was the separation? Like you talk about that transition from earlier forms to later form. Like what changed about your game? Was it that you got bigger, stronger? What was it?
Yeah. Well, for me, my game itself. Well, I always had the height. I mean, I always had the height, so that was an advantage, within the country on the island itself. But those early years, just basic development. So my ball handling got stronger, my shooting got better, more athletic. So all aspects of my game just continue to improve.
And you were a product of coaching in high school. So tell us about persons who were important to you in that developmental stage in high school and how important that was for you in your journey.
Well, in high school, I mean, especially at that time, coaching was in coaching. It was in what it kind of is
Yes.
now. I mean, it's still lacking now, but back then I can remember we practicing a couple of days before, going off into high that one tournament in December, and that was it. So a lot of our high school journey, it was. I mean, we had several different coaches. Coach Cox, Papa Lou, rest his soul. Kyle Gardner. I think Alfred was our coach at one point. Yeah, so we had several different coaches, but it was in where we practiced for a whole a long period of time and so forth like that. So we were kind of fortunate enough where we were always one of the better teams, so we could have it's like regardless who coached us, the outcome would have been us winning. But yeah,
Yeah, y'all were that dominant. Y'all were like 2000 Sri Lakers.
yeah.
We're gonna talk about coaching much later on. I want to continue on this trajectory of going from high school to making it to playing in a Division One college school. How did that materialize?
So yeah, so that I always say is a long story, but really and truly, what kind of happened? I finished in high school, and my last 2 years in high school, I had the opportunity one to go to school in the Bahamas, Tabernacle Powerhouse over there in Freeport, but that didn't work out. Fit form had the opportunity to go to high school in the U.S. somewhere, didn't work out. And basically, after high school, that's basically it for ball. So it's just so, like I say, I finished high school, went to the community college for another 2 years, just basically focusing on academics. But while finishing up there was this guy over in Freeport, introduced to me by Jack Nasty, Coach Darrell Sears. So he usually has an annual basketball camp. So we were, planning to go to that. Group of raising a group of guys trying to, attend that tournament. Well, it's a camp more so, not a tournament. It was a camp.
Yeah.
Coaches, a lot of coaches from the U.S. Real exposure camp for the kids. But it didn't work out at the time. Couldn't, and it was a funding issue where, you know, just didn't happen. So it just so happened that during that same summer, we actually well, I actually end up going over to Freeport with Tanker SSO, Tanker Wesley Williams, who was a coach around here for the longest. So we went to, it was about a 2 week stay in the Bahamas. We went to Albuquerque, and then later on we would end up in Freeport. So while in Albuquerque, we played in a tournament. So I played probably 2 nights or so, and this guy, he just walked up to me, asked me which school I go. So I was like, I attend the community college back home. No, he's like, I mean, what school you play ball for? And I tell him, I don't play ball. I just go to the college back home. And, like he was in total disbelief. So he said, here's what, get ready tomorrow, because that was, say, Friday night. So he said, get ready tomorrow. It would have been Saturday morning. And then, because we would have played in the championship game that Saturday night. So he said, get ready in the morning. We're going over to Freeport. They have a camp going over there. And, I can sign you, I can get you to participate in there. So that happened. He flew me over to Freeport, played in the camp, probably not even 10 minutes of action good, because, I was joining somebody else's team. So just had to go on in and make it quick. So within that 10 minutes, I guess I flashed enough. And by the time I reached back to, by the time we got back to Provo, yeah, I had a scholarship offer. So that was worked on with Coach Sears over there. He's at St. George's High School. So he basically pushed that out for me.
There's so much to talk about with your time at TCU, and I don't think we'll have enough time to cover that whole collegiate journey. So what I want to talk about is some of the lessons you learned playing Division One basketball throughout those years. So what were some of your biggest takeaways from that experience?
Yeah, so basketball has many life lessons, yeah. So,
Right.
discipline, competition, going the extra mile, doing extra stuff, not giving up. So it's a lot of stuff that I, take away from that.
And you would now uh leave TCU, come back home, start your career playing basketball for fun, and then all of a sudden now you take on this coaching gig. Why become a coach?
For the obvious reason, it's basically needed. I, kind of kick myself sometimes for, not doing it sooner. But, and for me, it's been a issue with timing and so forth. That's been a major issue for me. So even up to now, I coaching and having practice once a week. So that's been the major issue for me. But the main reason, like I say, it's definitely needed. Um, you and all you see that going on here, you got a chance to impact kids' lives. I mean, it's a no brainer.
But what are some of the gaps? You mentioned a few times during the interview that it's needed. It's needed. What are some of the things that you're noticing in the Turks and Caicos Islands that really needs to be worked on in the area of coaching?
Well, like I say, but for the kids itself, I think that these kids should be at a way further along the curve. For instance, we just played in a championship game, and we played the top team basically. So, speaking with their coach and during the game itself, which kind of, worked out in our favor, those guys missed tons of layups. And I'm talking, certain players miss a layup, you like, okay, no problem. But when you're talking your top players
Right.
missing point blank layups, that's something that should happen 100. You should convert on that 100% of the time. And we seeing this is like 50-50. Like, okay, he gonna make it, he might make it. So those are the stuff that is lacking. So something like that, that should be like an automatic, and
Right.
the kids are just not there. So even with my team itself, it's like, one or two I can count on them making it, but everybody else not so sure, not so sure. So, and all of those stuff is practice time. I mean, it's something to me. It's something that you should be able to do on your own, but practice is something that could correct those things.
You we talk about, these star players missing layups. What is lacking in development here in the Turks and Caicos Islands when it comes to basketball? Now, bear in mind, I do know that there's a lot of students overseas playing, but what more needs to be done here to get our children up to speed?
All right. So from my observation, right. So I always tell people, basketball is a paying job. It's a full time job. So doing it on a part time basis is very difficult,
Mm,
because for me, when you practice once a week, you come back, you do some on Wednesday. We usually practice on Wednesday. We do some on Wednesday. By the time you get to a game on Saturday, guys don't forget what we went over. So imagine next week, Wednesday again. So it needs to be a flat out structured program where these guys can, this is what you do. You finish school, take a little break, do your work or whatever the case might be, and hey, hit the gym 2 3 hours of practice daily. That's the way you get better. But each we have the different schools, and all the head coaches, they have their own strategy and so forth. Some more flexible in terms of being able to practice more, but that's from my observation. I think that's what really needs to happen. It's a structured, built-in program along with the school and so forth. It's what you do.
Now you took over a team that we here now. Varsity Methodist used to be like we would call it a bye week in the tournament, right? You played at school. Yeah, that's a blowout. You ain't even got to play your star players much. But you've turned that program around. Now, I don't want you to share all your secrets, obviously, but I mean, how did you do that? How did you turn that program around to it make? Because I know last year y'all made it to the semis. This year y'all won it. What strategies or what techniques or what program shifted the school? With you being the head coach.
Okay, so yeah, so it was, being fortunate for me, I was able to work with them, for 3 years. So it didn't just happen, just this year. So first year, like I say, it was like a bye week for many of the teams. So some of the guys, it's like they, just playing ball for the first time. So not knowing what to do, it was a lot of stuff. So we, like I say, we practice, try to practice when we can, and the first year basically was just putting in basic structure. So this is what we do in this situation. This is what you do here. We wasn't fortunate because we only practicing once a week. So that kill where you couldn't do a lot of development stuff. But I structured it in a way where I kind of split the time, because we got an hour or so at the gym. So you spend the time preparing, for the next game, versus you trying to work on some, basic fundamental stuff. So I kind of blended fundamentals with, you know, basic game structure. So we ain't had no crazy amount of plays and so forth to kind of remember. I told them, I say, there's so much more that I can implement, but you guys ain't picking up the basic stuff, so it don't even make sense me, implementing nothing else. So I kept it real basic in terms of, gameplay and play calling and so forth. Basically, one play versus man, seam play versus zone, one out of bounds play. But on defense, sprint back, pick stop the ball. So it was like preaching that over and over and over. So some guys, even up to this year, even the third year, we got guys they done back over half court and they still ain't turned around yet. But that's something I've been preaching from day one. But like I say, it all kind of locked in that last minute. So within that week, that last week, everything kind of it's like they it's like they just bust up that exam for that last week. Like everything just came together. Like they was just waiting for the right moment to show me that they got it. Because like I said, I still was seeing the mistakes over and over, but it was constant. So we had mainly, like I say, we had the consistency with the continuity for the 3 years. So we had some key guys graduated last year, but we continue to build, and I think even going forward, we're losing a lot this year. I think next year we should be able to keep things going at least for the next couple of years.
Have you had parents reached out to you after winning this championship to say, well, I want my kids to play for you?
Unfortunately, I haven't, but I've been hearing some rumors.
Mm,
I haven't spoke with anybody directly, but I was hoping, actually being a private school, you only have the you're gonna be able to pick and choose, you know, to put on the team, so you're gonna have limited numbers. But I'm hoping that level of success that we just had. I hoping that that can kind of change some things.
amazing. Now, about I think I'll do my fans injustice if I didn't get you to talk more in depth about the finals. So tell me about that final game, like the preparation and also some of the strategies you use in the game. I know you said you kept it basic, but just tell me, I know there was a period where your star player got injured. So walk us through the prep and also that final game and winning it all.
Yeah. So yeah. So with all in the championship week itself. So we practice 3 times for that week, and I think that's the most we practice for the season in a week. So we had a lot more reps, a lot more practice sessions, and in the practice sessions, it was strictly working on beating the press defense. So we played Grand Turk previously about 2 weeks before the championship, and they beat us upside our head by 20 plus. How they did it? They pressed us. The game we played against them, first quarter, we had a tie. First quarter, they played, either sprint back in man or played some sort of zone or whatever, and then it was a tie game after that first quarter. Second quarter came, the coach switched it up and applied some pressure. And I always joke with my guys. I say, once somebody put a little pressure on y'all, you're like to go crazy. Yeah, just giving the ball away, nobody won the ball, and we forget everything that we been practicing all along. So that press worked against us, and that led to them, like I say, beating us by 20. And after that, all season long I've been preaching to the guys like, I could see the potential in the team, but they haven't convinced me to say that, hey, we're gonna win this, or we have a real shot. Like, we have a shot, but what kind of shot do we have? So
Right.
all the other teams, we can beat the other teams. We beat the teams that we were supposed to beat. But are you guys haven't showed me anything to show me that you can beat Clement or you can beat HJ. So like I say, and then going into it, championship, going in, Clement would be one of the favorites, and their strategy is they press you all game. So like I said, we worked on the press through the week. Send them notes. I call it homework. So that was kind of like our scouting report. I send them that. I send them videos. Mr. Murray from the school, he told me all the guys was in his room pulling up the videos on his screen and so forth, going over it and watching it, talking it through with each other and so forth. So it was a different level of focus for that last week. But the game itself, I mean, We game started. We got down real early. I think we was down by 8 within the first 2 minutes or so. So right back to our old selves, faltering against the press. So I call a quick timeout just to remind them, hey, calm down. We know what we're doing. We got the answers. I gave you the answers. Just do it for me. Just do it this one last time. So that one timeout right there, that was a crucial timeout. So from there, I think we came out and we made our run. We got the ball over half court, tie the game, take the lead, and for that period, close the half on a strong. We closed the half strong, up, I think about a 14-point lead or so. And coming out the half, they in the bar, I mean, in the locker room, kind of celebrating and say, "Hey, this game ain't nowhere close to being over." So imagine the score being 0-0, because
Right.
a team pressing can turn that around in 2 minutes. 14-point lead is like a 4-point lead. Yeah. So continuing on, like I say, third quarter things was going our way. They came out with a different press. So the press that they worked, they obviously figured out that we had it picked up. So third quarter they kind of switched it up, and that kind of worked for them. They came back. I went back and rewatched the live, and I saw at one point, they came back to as close as 3 points, and I think we were up as much as 18 or so. So it worked out. Like I said, we just stick. I mean, the whole thing was dealing with the pressure, because we knew it was coming. They did it all season long. That's who they are. If you handle that, you got a chance. So they used to playing with leads, and it works. So if you pressing that's your strategy, it worked. Why change it? But then, hey, somebody adjust to that. They haven't seen that all season. They probably haven't seen that in the last 2 3 years. They haven't seen some sort of adjustment to that in the last couple of years. So
Right.
right there in that moment, it was like a shocker. So I can imagine, like, you got them in panic mode, like, hey, what do we do now? That ain't working. What do we do now? So that happens. You use a favorite. Somebody punch you in the mouth first. Like, how you gonna respond? All season long, you just was cruising along. But
And it seems as though you built you trained your team to be climbing out from what I'm getting from all of that. That press was a big thing on your priority list.
yeah, it was. So like I say, going into it, I mean, the last couple of years, Clement is the favorite. That's the strategy they play. You only gotta, like, Grand Turk. It was different against Grand Turk because, like I say, Grand Turk, they kind of mix it up. Other teams, they kind of mix it up. But Clement, you getting the press straight through, start to finish. Whether they up by 30 or they down by two, they still coming at you. So that's the champion. That's who everybody going for. That's the championship level team. So that's who you got to prepare for. And
Def-
we didn't get a chance to play because we were on opposite sides of the bracket, so we didn't get to play during the regular season. But the goal still was, if you want a championship, you got to go through Clement.
Amazing.
Yeah.
Mr. Parker, I just want to thank you and also congratulate you on that amazing accomplishment. I believe Wesley Methodist is on the so you're top of the mountain. So I know you're gonna do well based on your experience, and I wish you the best in the future. And um, before we dive into the second half of the show, I just want you to say what how would you like to see basketball develop in the next 5 years?
Yeah, so for basketball, like I say, I would like to see definitely structured programs, especially within the government schools. Structured programs where guys, you develop talent from. I would like to see it go back as far as, like I say, for me, grade three. I think that's where it starts, because we when we get these guys at form four, form five, they already feel like they arrive. So
Mm,
there's a lot of years of bad habits that you're trying to break, and it ain't gonna happen in 1 week of practice and so forth. So the number one thing is, like I say, starting a starting at least from that level, grade three, maybe even younger, but at least from that age to you might spot some really special from there. You can work with it, develop it, and get them going from here early. Because the goal is to at least play college ball, and during the process, at minimum, at least you get yourself a free free scholarship, right? That's
Hey, from
where I would like to see. And from there, it's happening right in the Bahamas where guys every other year you got a NBA prospect. So who knows
definite.
who,
I see that.
who
Yeah,
who knows? I mean, we right there. We got the same raw abilities, but them compared to us, they got structured programs.
indeed, man. Well, I pray you're the one of those persons who will be the pioneers of that new structure and a new system that's being developed. Mr. Park, I wish you the best with that. And also, again, congratulations. Now, second half of the show. This is Pushing Your Peers podcast, and you wouldn't be a guest on my show if you didn't get to push your peers. So any word that begins, or words, it's up to you, that begins with the letter P that you believe has been transformational to your journey, you now have the floor to push your peers.
Yeah. So two words with a P. So two words I kind of think of. Well, for me, it's positivity.
Mm.
So with me, I mean, I always think on the upside. I never. I just hate to be around negative thinking people. I always try to encourage somebody. Just being positive. Every situation you can think of the bright side to it. There's always a way out of it. There's a good outcome to it. It might not be smooth sailing, but there's ways that you can get around stuff. And being positive for me, I think it's through high school having that positive attitude, I mean energy towards anything that you're doing. It gets you by. It makes a big difference. And then the other one, I don't know if anybody else in the world has as much patience as me. That's another one that works for me as well. I mean,
Yeah.
could be kind of conflicting because stuff might take a little longer, whatever the case might be. But being patient, not giving up on situations. As soon as you encounter a little difficulty, seeing it through, and you know, eventually knowing having the patience, you know that it could work out in the end. So those my two.
Appreciate you, Mr. Parker. It's a pleasure to have you on the show. I got two more questions, and it's basically a wrap. What would be your advice to the next Alvaro Parker, who's now in high school, and you can see yourself in him? What would be the key advice you would give to the young man right now?
So my advice, basically, in terms of if trying to make it to the next level, let's just say college for now. I mean, even pro, but what these guys, some I noticed with some of them, so you can't just wait. Just like if you're in school, you you only pick up your book when you're in class. That ain't gonna work out for you. Maybe the top 1%, they might be fine doing it, but if trying to be great at it, when you reach home, look it over, look at something else, you got to put in the time. So for me, it ain't just happen. Like a lot of people always used to say, "Oh, you only can do this because you're tall." I was like, man, it's like I played a lot more. I seen a lot more taller people than me. I played against them, and they ain't got nothing close to what I bring.
Yeah, what you got, right?
Yeah, for me, it was I could see I put in the work. At the time, I didn't see it. I didn't kind of really understand what I was doing or what it would turn to. For me, I can remember being on my front porch, back porch. I got two porch, one in the front, one in the back. Wherever the sun is coolest, that's where I at. And I got my ball dribbling up and down that court. That that strengthened my ball handling. Like I say, at that time didn't realize it. My ball bouncing all over the place. I go run behind it, pick it up, and right back at it again. So those are the things that help you get great. You got to put in the work. It ain't gonna come easy, and you gotta do the extra stuff. It ain't gonna be easy. I could tell I could. That's one thing I can say. For me, my experience, like when I first went off to school, I can remember our junior college team. We had about at least almost 20 guys, and by the time you know we got around to training camp starting, we were guys were just dropping like every week or two, one guy missing, this other guy missing. So it's early in the season, so you ain't even got to know them that well. But you're like, hey, hey, where this one going? Where that one going? Oh, he going back home. Give up, quit. And I ain't gonna tell you no lie. For me, being in that structured system and the workouts and so forth, I thought about it. I ain't gonna tell you no lie. It was new to me. I never had nobody
Yeah.
screaming down, screaming at me. And this one time, like what really, I don't know if I've been ticked off more than anything. Like one of the things that really ticked me off at one point was like the coach. He told me I basically, because I was on a lot of the American kids, they were on like partials because they had all the government assistance and so forth. So they had like partial scholarships while I was an international kid, so I was on full. So he told me, yeah, I'm wasting a scholarship. I'm wasting a scholarship. And it was, thinking back of it now, it was, something just to, kind of push me. But I didn't take it so well. I was like, hey, this ain't no dummy you talking to. If you want your scholarship, hey, at that time, everybody was leaving from home on a government scholarship at that time. So hey, I can go and get a government scholarship myself. So I don't really need this. But it was and so sadly, like one of the assistant coaches, he kind of saw my reaction to it, and later that night he came to the dorm like, hey, don't let that bother you. It's just to motivate you and so forth. But it ain't no easy ride. That's my advice to them. Put in the work. It ain't gonna be easy.
Mr. Parker, final question for the show. You've mentioned throughout the entire discussion, some of the lacks in the systems and some of the things that needs to be done. How would you like to be remembered in the Turks and Caicos when they think about basketball?
Well, I mean, so sadly, a lot of time has fly. Like a lot of some of the kids right now, some of them, you still get that constant where some of the older guys have to say, well, hey, this guy here, he was this and he was that. So I literally had to go on out there and prove it to one of the guys the other day. So we stand up under the rim, oh, touch me, I can't dunk and so forth. And I said, stand up there, let me show you some. And so funny, they recorded it and I, put him on his
Stop
back.
it.
But in terms of being remembered, I mean, like I say, I ain't gonna toot my own horn, but hey, when it comes to basketball and the Turks and Caicos, this is it you're looking at.
I love it. Mr. Parker, Alvardo Parker, ladies and gentlemen, the championship head coach of Wesley Methodist Stingrays, former Division One athlete, intelligent young man from East Harbor. I just want to thank you for coming on Pushing Your Piece podcast. Any final words before we close out?
Well, thanks for having me, and like I say, I mean, just looking forward to terms of basketball itself, looking to see the sport grow. I can be back next year with Wesley, so I know everybody gonna be coming for me. So that ain't gonna be that won't be a bye week anymore.
I love that.
So yeah, like I say, just anybody need, I always kind of around the gym whenever I got time. If you need something, you want to work on your game, hit me up. That's about it.
Ladies and gentlemen, Alvaro Parker, thank you so much for tuning in, and we'll see you next week on Pushing Your Piece podcast.